Well, maybe you've seen them. Have you driven over the Key Bridge? Long, narrow, 8-oared boats looking kind of like water spiders gracefully gliding over the Potomac. Rowing is a popular sport at both the college and high school level here. In fact, there are 12 high schools in the area that support teams. Our story is about one very good team and their coach of 4 decades. But first, a little terminology. The sport of rowing is called crew. Those long, narrow boats the crews row are called shells. Shells with 8 rowers are called eights. If each rower has a single oar, it's called sweep rowing, and if you put them all together, you have a symphony of motion. If rowing is indeed like a symphony orchestra with each oarsman in perfect tune with his teammates, then Charlie Butt is the conductor with a megaphone for a baton.
Treat it like an instrument, not a club. Quick on those catches, gentlemen. Quick on those catches. They're hanging up a little bit, Lee.
Charlie Butt is the only crew coach Arlington's Washington Lee High School has ever had. Oh, there have been assistants who have come and gone over the years, but for 4 decades, ever since he brought the sport to the school, Charlie Butt's name has been synonymous with rowing and winning at WNL.
Flowing motion.
I had absolutely no idea what would happen. And if anybody told me then I'd still be doing it 40 years later, I'd have said they were out of their mind.
Charlie was a gawky 115-pound 29-year-old when he coached his very first WNL team to the National High School Rowing Championship in 1949. For the next 20 years, he had a virtual corner on the market. It was a dynasty, one championship season after another. Terry Ellsworth, whose 2 sons rowed for Butt, is one of his biggest fans.
Washington Lee High School has the best scholastic crew tradition in the country, period. There are times in the 50s and the early 60s when their record resembles like the Boston Celtics and the New York Yankees. I mean, truthfully, they were so incredible. It's a real sports tradition.
Up and up, goes in. First step down, ready down. Second step down, ready down. Third step down, ready down. Last step down, ready down.
The last 20 years have been a bit lean. Declining enrollment at Washington Lee has meant fewer recruits and fewer trophies. But still, Charlie Butt is drawn to the Potomac Boat Club under the Key Bridge by the mystical attraction of rowing.
People have been trying to explain that for years. It's something very hard to explain. It's something about the fact that you get a bunch of people together who maybe aren't individually great athletes, but as a group, if they work precisely together, they can achieve greatness. It's the ultimate team sport is what rowing is.
You're blading the water quickly, don't let it hang in the air.
If the boat's going right, and that doesn't happen all the time. If it's a good crew, it happens often. But you feel like you're flying almost. You feel like you can't pull hard enough, and the boat just sort of, I've never been in a boat like this myself. But some of our kids every now and then achieve this capability, and they just feel like they just can't pull hard enough to keep up with it. The boat just almost flies.
This year, for the first time in a long time, the boats, or racing shells as they are called, are flying. The top 8-man shell, known as the Varsity 8, brought home the national championship trophy, the result of dedication by both the team and the coach. Dedication women's crew coach Kathy Proctor says borders on obsession.
You know, he's down here not only in the spring when we have practice, but he's down here all winter and all fall getting the boats ready, and he's piddling around in the summer organizing programs for the junior boys or the junior girls or any sauna.
Well, lightweights, let's go!
Crew is a sport that doesn't draw big crowds of spectators, so it requires dedication, according to one of the co-founders of the alumni group, Terry Ellsworth.
It's not a glory sport. I mean, you don't have a lot of people coming out. You don't have cheerleaders. A lot of hard work on the river every day, right?
Sure, the blade stays buried until the end of the stroke, then drop it down and away. You pull right straight through, then down. You're thinking about that down and away. Very important we get that worked out right.
There are those who say this year's success just shows what Charlie can do if he has something to work with. Tom Chisnell rode on the last W&L team to win the prestigious Henley Regatta in England back in 1969. He now coaches the women's team.
This is the first year in about 20 years he's had so many big boys, so much size to his team, which really does help, having all that height. And they're all about the same size, and they all work very hard. Other years we've had, some, but not all 8. And this year it's all 8 of them.
1 foot up. Back up and out.
If you look at these oarsmen, you notice right away they are not muscle-bound behemoths. It's the strength-to-size ratio that counts, and it's leg strength more than arms. The rowers sit on moving seats with their feet strapped in place. So when they're pulling on an oar, a lot of the power comes from the legs.
Strength is important, very important. Skill is very important, and conditioning is important. And then you have to have the group working together. Our varsity crew this year averages about 170 pounds. We have about 4 pretty good-sized guys, and then we have 4 smaller guys. And they just happen to have worked out. It's hitting the right combination, if you're lucky enough to recognize it.
Catch, release.
One of the most important members of the team is not pulling on an oar. Justin McClary is the coxswain, the little guy who sits in the stern.
Basically, a coxswain steers the boat. He gives commands to the rowers. He is basically for crew, what a quarterback is for the football team.
During a race, McClary confers with the oarsman directly in front of him, the stroke, Steve Robinson. It's his job to set the pace for others to follow, a crucial responsibility that can win or lose a race.
Going into the race, there is a lot of responsibility, and I tend to get real nervous sometimes, but everything's on everybody else's shoulders too, because if they don't follow me, then I'm not doing anything.
One stroke cannot make a crew. He can help it, but he's got to have a good person in 7, good person in 6. The whole thing has to work together.
Draw it through, down and away, blade up out of the water. That's the major function.
Charlie Butt says the secret to his success is in stressing technique.
Don't pull hard on it now. Nice and easy.
But others put it down to depth of knowledge of crew and human nature.
He's great, really. He's been doing it for 40 years, and he still has an incredible amount of enthusiasm. And the biggest thing is he knows so much about rowing.
I think he really loves the sport. I've never met anybody who loved this sport or any sport as much as he loves rowing. He just really loves it.
He's ageless. He's been here as long as I can remember, all the way through when I was rowing in high school, and of course he's still here now. Looks like he'll be here forever.
I don't know. There's some people I know would like me to sit around the fire a little more, you might say. It's a great deal of fun. As long as it's fun, it's sort of nice to stay. Winning a race or two sort of recharges batteries. On the other hand, it's very important that you don't keep coaching after you're effective. I mean, if effectiveness as a coach goes away, then that's time to leave.
Now, if you were driving across the Key Bridge this morning, you may have spotted a rather clumsy bunch of oarsmen making their way down the Potomac. Don't confuse them with the Precision W&L crew. Those are crew boosters who paid for some rowing lessons, part of the fundraising effort to pay for the W&L trip to England to compete in the prestigious Prince Elizabeth Challenge Cup at Henley-on-Thames. The first W&L crew to go in 20 years. The team leaves this Wednesday. So far, they've raised about half of the $20,000 they'll need. We wish them good luck. Next, we'll raise a glass to a home brew with a 1.5-century-old tradition. Stay tuned.